Viele Rentner in Deutschland achten derzeit vor allem auf die angekündigte Rentenerhöhung im Juli. Doch genau hier übersehen viele Menschen einen entscheidenden Punkt. Schon wenige Euro mehr Rente können dazu führen, dass plötzlich eine Steuererklärung erforderlich wird oder erstmals Einkommensteuer anfällt. Besonders betroffen könnten Rentner sein, die bislang davon ausgegangen sind, dass ihre Rente vollständig steuerfrei bleibt. Und genau deshalb sorgt derzeit eine Zahl für große Aufmerksamkeit. Rund 1.452 Euro monatliche Bruttorente. Nach aktuellen Berechnungen liegt hier für viele Neurentner eine wichtige Grenze. Wer darüber liegt, könnte deutlich schneller mit steuerlichen Folgen konfrontiert werden, als viele vermuten. Welche Rolle dabei die Rentenerhöhung spielt, welche Freibeträge gelten und welcher Fehler viele Senioren jedes Jahr Geld kostet, schauen wir uns jetzt genauer an. Im Juni 2026 beschäftigen sich immer mehr Rentner mit der Frage, ob sie künftig eine Steuererklärung abgeben müssen. Der Grund liegt auf der Hand. Die gesetzlichen Renten steigen weiter, während gleichzeitig immer mehr Menschen in den Bereich der Steuerpflicht geraten. Viele gehen davon aus, dass eine höhere Rente automatisch nur Vorteile bringt. Mehr Geld auf dem Konto klingt zunächst positiv. Doch genau an dieser Stelle beginnt für zahlreiche Senioren die Überraschung. Denn jede Rentenerhöhung erhöht gleichzeitig auch den steuerpflichtigen Teil der Rentenzahlung. Das liegt daran, dass der persönliche Rentenfreibetrag grundsätzlich im Jahr des Renteneintritts festgelegt wird. Dieser Betrag bleibt anschließend dauerhaft bestehen. Künftige Rentenerhöhungen werden dagegen vollständig dem steuerpflichtigen Teil zugerechnet. Dadurch steigt Jahr für Jahr das steuerlich relevante Einkommen vieler Rentner.
Question 1. Are you collecting Social Security before your full retirement age and still working a job? This is the earnings test, and it is one of the most misunderstood rules in the entire Social Security system. People hear that you can work and collect benefits at the same time, which is technically true, but they do not hear the part where the government can take back a massive chunk of your check depending on how much you earn. According to the Social Security Administration's 2026 fact sheet, if you will not reach full retirement age this year, the SSA withholds $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above $24,480 annually. That is the threshold for 2026, and it is not a suggestion. It is a hard rule with automatic consequences. If you will reach full retirement age sometime in 2026, that threshold jumps to $65,160, and the withholding rate drops to $1 for every $3 earned. That sounds more forgiving, and it is, but the gap between those two situations is enormous, and most people do not realize which category they fall into until the withholding starts. Here's what that looks like in real numbers, because abstract rules do not hit home the way actual dollar amounts do. Imagine a 64-year-old who claimed early and takes a part-time job paying $50,000 a year. That person is $25,520 over the limit. That triggers $12,760 in withheld benefits for the year. According to a 2026 SAA earnings test breakdown for someone collecting $1,920 a month, that is over half their annual benefit gone. Over half vanished.
Not because they did anything wrong, but because they earned too much while collecting early. Now picture someone closer to full retirement age, earning $70,000 in the months before their birthday. They are $4,840 over the higher threshold, which works out to $1,600 withheld for the year. That is a much smaller hit because the rules get more forgiving the closer you are to full retirement age. But here is the critical point most people miss. The reassuring part the SSA does not advertise loudly enough is that this money is not lost forever. Once you hit full retirement age, your benefit gets recalculated to credit you for every month that was withheld. So you do get most of it back over time, just not on the schedule you were expecting. You are essentially giving the government an interest-free loan out of your own retirement benefits, and you do not get to choose the terms. If this applies to you, the fix is simple, but you have to act before the problem starts. Call the SSA at 1-800-772-1213 and tell them your estimated earnings for the year before you start collecting, so they can withhold gradually instead of hitting you with a surprise bill after the fact. Do not wait for them to figure it out. Do not assume they already know. You have to be the one to make that call, because if you do not, that letter will show up eventually and it will not be gentle. Question 2. Have you ever received an overpayment notice from the SSA, even when you thought it was resolved? This is the one that changed twice in just the past year, and most people watching have not kept up with which version is currently active. If you received an overpayment notice in 2024, the rules were different. In March of 2024, the SSA
also applies a $3,000 combined resource limit to married couples, even when only one spouse is SSI eligible, which catches people off guard when a new spouse's savings account gets folded into the calculation. So you could get married, have your check reduced because of your spouse's income, and then have it eliminated entirely because their emergency fund puts you over the resource limit. Either way, any change in marital status has to be reported to the SSA within 10 days after the end of the month it happened in. Not 10 business days, not whenever you get around to it. 10 days after the end of the month. And missing that window is how a lot of these cases turn into overpayment notices down the road, which loops you right back to question 2 and that 50% withholding rate that is active right now. The system is designed to punish you for not reporting fast enough, even when the report itself is going to hurt you. Question 4. Is a family member or roommate helping cover your rent, your utilities, or your groceries while you are on SSI? This is officially called in-kind support and maintenance, and it is the rule almost nobody knows about until their check comes in smaller than expected. According to SSA guidance for 2026, if someone else is paying part of your housing or food costs, the agency can reduce your SSI payment by as much as $351.33 a month, depending on how much support you are receiving and how it is documented. That is over $4,000 a year in reduced benefits because someone helped you out. The part that catches people off guard is that this applies even to well-meaning help from your own adult children or a roommate splitting bills informally. Your daughter buys you groceries because she knows you're struggling? That could cost you $350 a month in benefits. Your roommate pays the electric bill one month because you're short? That could trigger a reduction. Your son lets you live in his basement rent-free while you get back on your feet? The SSA sees that as income you are not reporting, and they will adjust your check accordingly.
There is one notable exception worth knowing, and it is the only real protection against this rule. If everyone in your household receives a public assistance benefit like SSI, TANF, or SNAP, the SSA generally does not evaluate in-kind support from other household members at all, on the assumption that everyone in that home needs their own income to get by. But here is the catch. You have to actually prove that everyone in the household is on public assistance. If you are not sure whether your living situation qualifies for that exception, that is worth asking the SSA directly rather than guessing and risking an incorrect reduction. Do not assume, do not hope, do not cross your fingers. Call and get it in writing. Because if they decide later that you should have been reduced, they will not just fix it going forward. They will send you an overpayment notice for every month they think you were overpaid. And then we are right back to question 2 with the 50% withholding. Question 5. Do you have more than $2,000 in countable resources as an individual or $3,000 as a couple while receiving SSI? This limit has not been adjusted since 1989. Let that sink in. 1989. Ronald Reagan was president. The Berlin Wall was still standing. The internet barely existed. And the Social Security Administration decided that $2,000 was enough savings for a disabled person to survive on, and they have never changed it since. If that limit had simply kept pace with inflation, it would be sitting above $5,000 today. Instead,
it is frozen exactly where it was almost 4 decades ago, which means a modest savings cushion that felt completely safe a decade ago can now put you over the line without you realizing it. You could have been under the limit your entire adult life, build up a small emergency fund through careful budgeting, and suddenly find yourself ineligible because inflation finally caught up with your bank account. The SSA evaluates your resources on the first day of every month. That is not an average. That is not a rolling calculation. It is a snapshot on one specific day, which means even a large tax refund or a holiday cash gift that lands in your account at the wrong moment can temporarily disqualify you. Your aunt sends you $500 for Christmas on December 28th, and if you still have it in your account on January 1st, you could lose your benefits for the entire month of January. That is how precise and unforgiving this rule is. Certain things do not count toward this limit, like your primary home and one vehicle,
which is at least something. But a second small savings account you forgot about, an old life insurance policy with a combined face value over $1,500, or retirement accounts you're able to access can all push someone over without warning. That life insurance policy your parents bought you when you were a child, it counts. That 401k from the job you had before your disability, it counts. That savings account you opened for emergencies, it counts. If you were trying to save beyond that limit without losing SSI, there is a legitimate tool for it. An ABLE account. As of 2026, anyone whose disability began before age 46 can open one, and the first $100,000 held in that account is completely excluded from the SSI resource count. That is one of the only legal ways to build real savings while staying eligible, and most people who qualify have never heard of it.
Most people do not know these things, and the SSA does not send you a friendly reminder. They just wait for you to mess up, and then they send the bill. So here is the summary, and I want you to really hear this because it is the difference between keeping your check and losing it. 6 questions, and you only needed 1 yes to be at risk this year. Working before full retirement age can trigger the earnings test and withhold over half your annual benefit, depending on how much you earn. An old overpayment notice, even one caused entirely by the SSA's own error, like what happened to Kara Kendall in Ohio, could mean 50% of your check is being withheld right now under the current rate. A marriage or living change can trigger spousal deeming on SSI and shrink or wipe out your payment. Help from family with rent or groceries can quietly reduce your SSI payment by over $350 a month, unless your household qualifies for the public assistance exception. A resource limit frozen since 1989 can disqualify people who think they are still safely under it, though an ABLE account can legally protect up to $100,000 from that count. And missing a 10-day reporting window can create the very overpayment that costs you the most. None of these are theoretical. They are the current active rules as of 2026, and the SSA is not going to call you to walk you through which ones apply to your situation. They are not going to send you a personalized guide. They are not going to proactively check if you are in compliance. They are going to wait and watch. And when something goes wrong, they are going to send you a letter with a bill attached. That is how this system works. That is how it has always worked. And that is why you have to be the one protecting yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you.
Send this video to someone you know who is on Social Security or SSI right now, because the odds are good that at least one of these 6 questions applies to them, and they have no idea. The person who thinks they are safe is usually the one who gets hit the hardest. Do not let that be you. Do not let that be someone you love. Share this, save it, watch it again, and take action today before the letter shows up in your mailbox. Because once that letter arrives, the clock is already ticking, and the system is not designed to give you second chances.